Welcome back to News Channel 7. Today is Worldwide Wednesdays, where we talk about hot topics on the internet.
It's been a bit since you've seen my face specifically, so feels good. Do you guys have any idea what today's topic would be about?
Not a clue.
I don't tell them any of them. So.
Yes, because I just glanced up at the preview monitor.
You're not supposed to do that, but let's have the audience take a look. So I want to talk about instant communication because we've had Tropical Storm Bertha and just going all around. So not only just for, severe weather is instant communication, like what we live in now, but I think back to when school gets canceled because of snow, at least for me back home. Like, it wasn't instant like it is now. Mm-hmm. I want to hear from you first, Emmett, about how instant communication helps you and how your job kind of relies on instant communication, especially in a situation like this.
Yeah, communicating those warnings, those watches certainly helps out when you have instant communication, like with the cell phone, right? That helps out drastically here within this field. Certainly needed, right? Because we're always trying to find innovation to continue to deliver the message the fastest way possible, and cell phones certainly helping us out with that. Instant communication here this day and age, a lot different than back in the day when it was just the TV that you had for getting those watches and warnings, right? And as you were saying, for the snow days, back in the day, I remember my dad telling me that he'd have to watch the local news when they'd have that little scroll at the bottom telling you which school districts were canceled for the day. So, it's needed for weather alerts when those are issued, and and certainly still innovating that as well. So
I'm sure it's also nice for you as the meteorologist when the National Weather Service updates, and immediately too. You don't have to wait for, I don't know how the process used to work, but that's also instant too. So you're always on top of the most up-to-date details.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mia, I want to go to you, where your job coming here was digital content producer.
Yes.
And getting things out quick was the name of the game. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts on instant communication, and I was kind of going through it a little bit in my head, because I think, for one, that was mainly my job before I began anchoring. I was a digital content producer, and I've talked about this a little bit before on our different speaking segments, but a lot of that job is, one, getting up web stories, sending out the push notifications for that, and then making sure that that gets into our shows, because just because I'm seeing it online doesn't mean that it's necessarily going into our shows, and some of the things that exist on our webpage don't necessarily go into our shows. So making sure that those things get in there. Push notifications is a big one. Social media is a big one. Utilizing things like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and just making sure that we have it up first, and also in a way that works best with our analytics that will reach the greatest amount of viewers. Not for engagement baiting, but making sure that the information that is pertinent to our viewers ends up reaching our viewers. So instant communications, again, is really, really huge, especially when it comes to news, especially if you're passionate about breaking news and making sure that people have all of the latest info. One of my first experiences, I think, with it was Hurricane Helene, when that was coming through and it was expected to hit more so the Forgotten Coast, was some of what we were expecting originally. During that time, I want to say, and I'd have to look over the exact time range, but I wrote 50 web stories. I got 50 web stories up. And it was a lot. It was a lot because it was a lot of information and trying to combine as many things as possible at the same time, and not wanting to have to put, it's funny because even when I say 50, I'm like, that sounds like a lot, and could that have been condensed? Because you want to make sure that that information isn't getting lost or buried in the other web stories, but making sure that those got up, that we were getting that on social media, that people were seeing that, And again, that was where I really learned a lot about our analytics and how to do that in the best way possible, because that was around the time that the algorithm stopped favoring links and started favoring text posts instead. And learning that actually including the links in the comments was the best way for the headlines to reach our viewers. And it was really tough because you're kind of having to like retrain people on how they were expecting to receive their information versus how they're going to get it now. So that's just overall thoughts on that aspect of it. But something that is really interesting to me now with instant communication, and it's got all of its own pros and cons, is that between social media and having those push notifications, and like in a digital age, you're expected to get things out so much faster.
Yeah. So
much faster. So now you're not just racing whoever you view your competition as, but you're racing against time in general, where you don't have the luxury of time that maybe news used to. And on top of it, with everyone now, anyone can be a reporter. And I have two separate thoughts on that. One is if you really love communications and you love your community and your audience, then you want them to receive information and be aware of what's going on in their community. But with that comes wanting it to be the verified information. So it can be really hard to sometimes combat unverified information, or hearing things and kind of dealing with a rumor mill now, because anyone can be a journalist, and now having to verify that. So not only are you taking now a rumor of things that you're seeing online, but then going and trying to get that verified, while also trying to get that back out onto your website or social media before it gets worse. But also, I think there is having to be a little bit more of that understanding that we have to verify it first. So while people can say a lot of things on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, making sure that we have that out as quickly as possible and as factual as possible is huge.
It makes sense. So that's why you got to download the First Alert Weather app and our WJHG News app, because we will give you those verified stories and details, especially with like the tropical storms and hurricane season. You don't want to miss the latest updates from the radar, but also what the community is doing to prepare for these situations. Follow producer Evan WJHG on Facebook and tell me your thoughts about instant communication and how it's changed. Like I said, not biggest one, because my job relies on instant communication, but a big one I thought of was snow days when I was a kid and all stuff like that. I'd like to know what you guys thought.
And again, that's why push notifications matter, because we'll send you out that push notification saying, hey, school's canceled, before you even have to get up out of bed and turn that TV on.
100%.
Instant communication is fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us for our show today. We will catch you next time.